Hello from Saranda, Albania. It's been a while. We have been going through a heck of a heat wave. Humidity off the charts. Pretty much have to hide as much as possible. It's pretty incredible. But halfway through summer, we can look forward to September with our cool nights again. There are a lot of things about Albania that are very strange to somebody who comes from the Western world. It may not be strange to all of you, but these are the top 10 things that I find the most strange about Albania compared to how it was back in Canada or in the United States. Number one, garbage. How we think about garbage, how we treat garbage is entirely different. We came from a place where garbage pickup was every other week. So you had to wait 2 weeks to get rid of your garbage, but recycling was once a week. Here, though, garbage is available everywhere. You only have to walk 2 minutes down any road and there are public garbage cans. Not only that, where we came from, businesses would have to pay for their own garbage haulage, and it's not the city doesn't pick up their garbage for them. But here, the businesses can put their garbage into the same bins and they have no waste expense whatsoever. So the garbage cans, as you can imagine, fill up very quickly. And every single day they get picked up. Not only that, the animals, because there's a lot of animals here, cats and dogs, will rummage through these garbages, drag most of it out of the garbage can all across the sidewalk and, well, everywhere. And then the next day, it's all cleaned up and spotless. So it's pretty incredible how they deal with waste here and how quickly. Not only that, each and every night, the city pays for people to sweep the sidewalks and the streets and clear away everything. 70% or more, my own estimate, of people here smoke. So there's cigarette butts everywhere. But the next morning, the streets will be spotless once again. Unbelievable. One thing, though, is that breeds an attitude of someone else will clean it up. And if you look over our balcony here, I have a video that shows during the day, you can see all that garbage down there. Well, down on the first floor is the Hasta La Vista hostel. And one of the volunteers there said, hey, I'm going to clean up all that garbage out there. I don't like how it is. And the owner of it said, don't bother. Within 2 to 3 days, it will be all back again. He's like, nah, come on. It can't possibly be true. Well, sure enough, he cleaned it all up. And 2-3 days later, right back to where it started. People just throw garbage right over their balcony. Land right on the ground. They don't think anything of it. People will walk out of their own store, and have a wrapper or whatever from whatever they're doing, and they just throw it. And it just flutters away. Because they're so used to everybody just cleaning up after them. So very, very interesting and very different. In Canada, when you see a price, you go to McDonald's or anything like that, and you see a price that's written on there, you normally know, okay, that's going to be 13% more, or even more if there's alcohol involved or if you're in a tourist zone. But here, whatever the price is the price. Don't have to second thought anything. It will be the exact price. So that's an interesting thing. Now, I have seen at a hotel in Tirana, yes, they had a hotel tax. So it's not always, but it's quite a bit different for most of it. It's very interesting, very interesting. And I'm not even sure how the whole tax system works, other than I do know that they have their own version of VAT here, but I believe it's mostly just on your earnings, but it could be built in. I don't quite know about that. Number 3, pharmacies. Pharmacies here are mostly all in the same street, and we found this to be the same in Cambodia, where they put them all in one neighborhood and not one on every couple corners like we found in Canada. As well, they're not all owned by 1 or 2 chains. You'll find here that chains don't really exist very much. But there's something interesting about the pharmacies here. And I've seen this before, but I only saw it in Costa Rica. And that is, if you can bring in what you're looking for and show them, yeah, here's a prescription I had, they will just give it to you. That's it. Maybe they'll ask you for your ID, but other than that, they're just going to give it to you. And, you know, I'm talking even like mental health drugs, which normally in Canada, you would have to go to your own family doctor. A clinic couldn't even prescribe them to you. Here, no doctor needed. Just bring in the old bottle or a picture of the bottle or anything like that. In some cases, and I don't know if it's, you know, narcotics or anything like that, but in some cases you can just show them an internet picture of what you're looking for and they will just fill it. So very convenient. Obviously, it could be abused, but I feel like most people don't abuse it, and the reason is because you don't see drug addicts or other things like that around here like you see in Canada or in the United States. So big difference. Being able to drive motorcycles, four-wheelers, without a driver's license. As long as under a certain amount of cc's, which I'll put on the screen here, or horsepower, anyone can drive them. And there is no concern if you have a driver's license or not. As well, I'm going to loop this into both of them in that I've never seen a single person get a traffic ticket. I know that it happens on the highway between Tirana and the city here, where they have speed traps. But here in town, I have never seen anybody get a speeding ticket. I see people speed all the time. But we've only seen one fender bender out of the ridiculous amount of cars that are around here. And so the roads are actually quite safe. A lot of them are very narrow. Only one car can get through. People park on both sides. But for the most part, everything is just organized chaos. It just works for everybody. You also don't see people getting that upset. Yes, they honk their horn. They love to honk horns here. If they're delayed even for a moment, they will honk their horns, or the police will just put on their siren, because often people just stop to say hello to somebody. And again, one lane of traffic because of all the people parking. And that's it. They honk their horn, but they don't get upset. They don't scream. They don't do anything. And so you don't see that road rage here. I can also say just from what we've seen is crime is pretty much non-existent here. The most crime you'll ever see is the gangs of kids who just cause some graffiti or, you know, just troublemaking, that kind of thing. But that's about it. During the soccer games, they bring a ton of police because I guess there's fights, but I've never seen fights, but I always see the ton of police. But mostly they just come and hang out and watch the game. And, football to the Europeans. But that's it. Yeah. So when it comes to, very loud motorcycle right there. When it comes to driving, you don't need a driver's license as long as it's under a certain amount of cc's. The next one is pets. You know, when we think of pets, we always say that you have to be on a leash. People don't leave their cats to hang out outside. We treat them almost like one of the family. But here, it's very common for you to have your own pet dog, cat, but you just let it roam free. It goes wherever it wants and wanders around. And often a lot of them are not even owned and they're just wild, and people just feed them and pet them on a daily basis. You always know the cats that are owned, though, because they will actually somewhat let you approach them, where a lot of the wild cats here that just run into the garbages everywhere, they want nothing to do with people, so they will run far, far away. But yeah, it's very interesting here where pets are not a priority here. Even when we buy pet food or anything like that, it's very limited. You try to get a pet toy and everybody looks at you like you're crazy. So yeah, that's a big difference between North America, how we think of pets, and how they think of pets here. By the way, we have our pet kitten, Mimi, and it was a rescue. We found it wandering around. We waited and make sure nobody owned it, but no, and people would just pick it up and just kind of like put it into the woods. And but it was super friendly. And so we waited to make sure nobody else owned it, kept him coming back, still there, still trying to get food from people. And so we brought it home and we've rescued it since then. So now Mimi is our destructor in charge of our place, essentially, just destroying everything she can because she's a kitten, and loves to eat. Another really, really crazy thing, well, to me, is the difference between how kids are in North America and how kids are here in Albania. In Albania, you will find the kids outside always, basically from morning to night, except, of course, during the hottest period of the day, the siesta time, where not many people are out at all. But outside of that, you will see them in gangs of 15, 20, and I say gang, but gaggle, whatever. They're not gangs by any stretch of the imagination, just friend groups, but they play outdoors. They run around the city, do whatever. Where in North America, as we all know, ours are glued to electronics. Ours are playing video games, they're on their phones all the time. It is pretty rare to see kids outside unless the parents say, okay, let's go to the park, and maybe you'll see some at the park. We see plenty here at the park, but you'll also see them everywhere else. Kids here, it's extremely rare for them to have cell phones. And I'm talking like even 13-year-olds. No, maybe one of their friend group will have a phone, so they all watch TikToks together, on that one phone, or maybe two of them might have it, but it's extremely rare. And most people who do have phones, and this is adults too, not just kids, will only have a phone like this. So you can imagine there's not a lot of TikTok or social media or games being played on a phone like this. Or they have the flip phones with just a little dot matrix type screen on it. It's quite unusual to find that you go to all the restaurants here, cafes, which there are a lot of them, and you will find that almost nobody, except for maybe some tourists, are even looking at their phone. People engage, they talk, they stare at the scenery, they think, but they don't stare at their phones. It's really, really rare. So that's a very unusual thing, especially when cell phones are actually quite cheap here. You can pay $8 a month for a cell phone here. If you want to have extraordinary data, then you might be paying $18 or $20 a month. So, most of them, like the kids that do have them, they have Wi-Fi only. It probably only costs them $5 or $8 a month, and they just connect to places that have Wi-Fi. So very unusual comparative to what it is like in North America, where you don't see kids out playing very much anymore. Parents are keeping them kind of bubble wrapped, they don't want them to get hurt or injured or anything like that. Where here, yeah, kids scale the fence to climb into the soccer field or football, and the fence is like got spikes on it and everything. Nobody says anything, everybody can see them. You see them climbing all kinds of things, but kids are just being kids, and you learn by falling down. So it's the old way of doing things here. And that brings us to number 7. These are not in any specific order anyway, but here, smoking is extremely common. Like I said it before, I would guess probably 70% of people smoke that are over the age of 18. Yeah, it's quite extreme. Like I remember it, many, many years ago when I would go down to Mexico or Costa Rica where I saw that. But even nowadays, they're down to maybe 30% smokers. But here it is extremely common, where most establishments have smoking, and there isn't a separate area in your restaurant for smoking and non-smoking. You're not supposed to smoke indoors, but since most places are indoor-outdoor, they generally will still have smoking. Many businesses I'll go into that sell like lighting equipment or something like that, something industrial, well, people will just be smoking while they're shopping and looking around. So it is very, very 20 years ago, 30 years ago, 40 years ago, and quite different than what you might be used to in North America. Smoking is also very cheap here. It's about $2 for a pack of cigarettes. Number 8, when you want to mail something, we're all used to putting a postal code and an exact address in order for it to get to the destination. But here, that's not a thing. They don't have postal codes. They don't have zip codes. You can put literally the best description of how to get here and put your phone number on it, and it will get to you. Most mail isn't delivered anyway. What they do is they call you and say, come pick it up. So there's quite long lines at the post office to pick up your packages. Another thing about the post office is people are often not even there for mail. They are there to pay all their bills, to pay their taxes, to pay their electricity and their water and all these things. They pay them all at the post office. I don't know if it's cheaper than the banks, but it is quite convenient. You go into one place and you can do everything. Postage here is very, very economical. You can send quite a large package for like 90 cents and to the next city over. With government agencies, you actually don't even have to put anything but the name of the agency and just the city under it, and it will get there, and no one will even question you when you go to the post office to get like a tracking number put onto the package itself. So very interesting. When I tell people to mail me here, I have to explain to them that no, there's nothing. There's just a street number, and there's just a street number, and of course the city and the country. But that's all we got. Just please put my phone number on there, and they will call, and I can explain if they're a delivery service like UPS. They'll deliver to you, but you have to explain when they call you how to get to it. So you say the local market nearby, or describe it in some way. In my case, we're right across from the stadium, so we just say, yeah, right across from the stadium, and then they find you. So quite a bit different. Seems inconvenient, but so far it's worked out really well. Back home in Canada, I lived in Ontario. In Ontario, you had racetracks, bingo halls, casinos, pretty much everywhere. And if you weren't doing those, you had scratch tickets, the lottery. There were more ways to gamble than most other things. It was very easy, and they were sold everywhere. Here in Albania, there is no gambling. No official gambling, anyway. There are no casinos. There are no scratch tickets. There's no lottery. There is nothing. I know of backgammon games that do go on every day. Don't know how to play it or anything like that, and there might be some gambling going on between them. I do know that there is the odd poker game, but these are very unofficial, minor, not a big deal, and my understanding, not in a big money or anything like that. So it's very good for, obviously, the people. Those type of things. Gambling can ruin people. They can destroy lives, and it's a very destructive habit to have. So I think it's a very big positive for Albania that they don't have it, but they definitely don't. And now for number 10. I'm getting super hot. It is humid as heck out tonight, but we're getting through this. So number 10 is food. Not just the food costs, because we've explained that before, where food is very inexpensive here if it's made in Albania. So vegetables and fruits, stuff like that, you can buy a whole week's worth for $2-3. It's extremely inexpensive here. Fish, well, fish is super plentiful here, and many restaurants, that's all they'll sell. But the really cool thing about it is there's no processed foods. Well, there's some. There's very, very little. You can't go into the grocery store and just get like a TV dinner, that kind of thing. They don't have very much frozen goods as it is for you to reheat. Everything here is made from fresh. Pasta, obviously not. You can still get the cans of sauces, stuff like that. But the processed foods that we're used to in North America and that we eat all the time just don't exist. Even fast foods. We have all the McDonald's and the Burger Kings and Wendy's and all these other ones. But here in Albania, none of that exists. Fast food here might be shawarma, and it almost always is shawarma. And they might have fries, but they're not deep fried. They're baked. I don't even know any places that have deep fryers here. So it's quite interesting. Pizza, of course, is still pizza. Probably a little fresher here. Again, fresh ingredients. They don't really use anything from frozen, and everything is brought in daily. So when it comes to food and processed foods, it's so much different than what I'm used to in North America. A little less convenient, obviously, but the prices certainly make up for it. And of course, what it does to your health will certainly make up for it as well. So I hope you enjoyed this. There's a lot more things that I find extremely strange about this country, comparative to where I came from. Very much positive, I got to tell you. There's only a couple things here and there, but otherwise, 99% of it is positive differences that I found between North America, and here in Albania. Hope you enjoyed. Hope you subscribe. Don't forget to hit like, and we'll see you again.